What's going on, guys? Evil Dragon here, back with another Dead by Daylight video. Today, I want to discuss this boy right here, Springtrap, my new favorite killer in Dead by Daylight. And I think the best way I can describe him is the jack of all trades, garbage at everything. Uh, Maybe that's a bit of a stretch. He's definitely an okay killer, but let me explain. I have been testing him out with dozens and dozens of different builds, tens and tens of different perks. I'll show you some of my builds here. We'll go down the list really quick. My sweat build, which is because I'm trying to win, using Grim Embrace and Pain Res with Rapid Brutality and Hex Blood Favor, and sometimes switching Rapid Brutality out for batteries included, with the add-ons Restaurant Menu and Foxy's Hook. That's just the sweat build. So that's just one of the many builds I have I'm going to show you here, but it seems like a very simple build. I labeled it that because when I use this build, my goal, my objective, is to win a match. And usually, I can win a match. And to me, winning a match means 3 kills or more, 3 or 4. I'm not very pressed with the 4th kill. I'll give Hatch. Usually, though, when I pick someone up in the end game, they just leave the game anyways. Or if they get Hatch, I don't care. 3 kills is kind of that goal. 2 kills, is kind of like a tie. You got 50% of them, 50% got out, kind of like a tie. But I still don't view that as what I want. When I use this build in particular, I want to win. And 1 kill and 0 kills is, of course, a loss. So, you have 2 lose scenarios, 1 tie scenario, and 1 win scenario. Or I guess 2 win scenarios if you want to count 4 kills. But again, I don't play for that. Whatever. Now, I'm making this video today to say that I think Springtrap, he's a solid killer. Like I said, jack of all trades, not, master of everything. He's got range. You want to use an axe? It's okay. You have 16-meter range. You have to go for high arc shots, as it's kind of like a UVX from the unknown. He's got stealth, where you go through doors, and, have 20 seconds of undetectable, no tear radius, no red glare, no nothing like that. He's got, again, mobility via the doors. And he's got, the normal M1 speed. If you want to be an M1 killer where you throw the axe away, you become 4.6 meters per second, or 115% speed, which is the normal default speed for most killers who want range. If you have the axe, then of course he's slower at 4.4 meters per second. All this is said and good, but I think there are small tweaks for him that could be better almost. Because I've been playing him a lot and going against really good survivors here. I'll show some clips of what they do and whatnot. And it just, all these games I'm on the cusp of winning or getting a tie or, getting an extra kill, getting an extra hook. But there's just the small things that, don't allow that to happen. And again, I'll go into some of the builds here. We're going to move on to the endgame build, and this is where one of my biggest complaint comes in. But this build is just a very simple endgame build. I have no healing slowdown, no chase perks, at least until the end game. I have no gen regression perks. I have no aura reading. I have nothing. The only perks are, of course, no edge, so when the gens are all done, I can one-hit people. Blood Warden, once the doors are open and I hook someone, the doors are blocked for a minute. No way out, whereas as long as I hook everybody, the doors are blocked for a minute before you can start opening them. And remember me, I hit the obsession up to 5 times. I gain a token to where they do 30%. Everyone that isn't the obsession does doors 30% slower per token. And so usually you want to kind of kill the obsession before that. But we're going to look at the add-ons here. Again, the add-on restaurant menu is the same. Because what this does, this is on most of my builds, it's the best add-on he has. Pretty much your axe cooldown goes from 10 seconds down to 8 seconds. Very solid. But this add-on, Loot Bag. Exit Gate will be blocked for whoever the axe is embedded in once you hit someone, and any survivors within 12 meters. Now that seems like a really good add-on. It's purple, it's solid, it's a mini Bloodborne for everybody if you have the axe into someone. But here's my thing. Why is the first bit part of the add-on? Exit gates will be blocked for them. Any survivors? Sure, that makes sense. But how come the axe part isn't default? Here's my biggest thing. If you play Victor, and Victor's on someone, you can't leave. If you get hit by chains, you can't leave from Pinhead. If the dog from the Houndmaster hits you, you can't leave. If Wesker grabs you and slams you into the exit gate, you can't leave. If the ghoul grabs you and hits you right before the exit gate, you can't leave. A lot of killers have that base kit. Gives them that little extra chance to get, a down or get a down to get another hook or another kill or something. Springtrap's different. He does not have that. One of his biggest abilities is hitting someone with the axe and then grabbing them and do a jump scare, because the whole point of Freddy's is jump scares and all that stuff. So why is it then that this would not be base kit? And now you might say, well, it's only stuck in your back. You can technically leave with it. And you know what? That's true. You could. It's not holding you back in like the Houndmaster's dog is or the chains are. But then, mind you, the ghoul isn't holding you back either. He just hits you with the tentacles, and then he lets you go, and eats your blood, and that's his cooldown, whatever. So he's not holding you at all by any means, but you're still stuck. Or Wesker grabs you, slams you, lets you go. You're not stuck, but apparently you can't leave. Or Victor is kind of like the axe. He's the closest comparison I have, is where when you're hit by the Victor, you're oblivious and whatever, you're broken and blah blah blah, all the stuff he stuck to your back, whatever. But you can't leave either. But there's nothing keeping Victor from, you taking Victor out of the match. If you leave with the axe, you just get the axe back. Why is this for Victor? Again, because in the game, he's a live entity, he's a creature, lore-wise, whatever. Okay, but he's the power, sure. But then why can't the axe do that? You see what I mean? So many other killers do that. It would make sense for Springtrap to do that, and yet he can't. One of my biggest gripes. It's such a small tweak, it would make him very slightly better in the endgame. It just means, as well, with, say, the Houndmaster, one of the things that you can do, and this is where it would come in an endgame scenario, if you're at the exit gate with 2 people or so, and you hit someone with the dog, the whole point, there's an animation where someone else can help you get the dog off you. Same thing with the axe. It's very rare, but if you hit someone with the axe, a survivor can come and get it off you within 1 to 2 seconds. That's where that would come in handy. You hit someone with the axe in endgame from an arc throw, they run to the exit gate, their survivor teammate helps them get it out, and you both run away scot-free, whatever. But no, you can just take the axe with you anyways. It doesn't make sense that you need an add-on for that. I don't like that. I think maybe this add-on should stay the same, except again, I just think the base kit should be you hit someone with the axe, they stay. It would be a slight buff to Springtrap. Whatever. Moving on to my kick stuff build. And this is where we're going to get into some of his add-ons. This build revolves around not any perks, well, I guess it does, they add on together, but this add-on to where when you throw your axe down, a little bubble appears. When you enter that bubble, it doesn't do anything for survivors, but for you, you break stuff 40% faster. Generators, pallets, doors. Stack that up with brutal strength, 60% faster. Stack that up with all stacks of fire up when it gets to max. That's another 30%. So 30%, 20%, 50%, plus 40% when the end game is powered. You break stuff 90% faster, near instantly. It's crazy fast. It looks really cool. But this is where I get to some of his add-ons are very strange. And the fact that, say, for example, you want to use this in chase. This whole build is about just having fun. I'm not trying to win or anything. And I have the perk, Eruption, because I can set it up on multiple gens, and we'll get into that in a second. And then Knockout to where someone hits me with pallet or drops it, I can break it super fast while they move slower when they leave the zone from the pallet. But going into the Eruption here, again, there's no problem with the Knockout perk. Going into the Eruption, sorry. When you use the axe, say you want to get actual value out of this thing. So, for instance, obviously you throw the axe, you miss, they drop the pallet, they run away. That's kind of how it's supposed to work, whatever. But for this build, you're supposed to break stuff really fast. All of the time, you're not throwing the axe on the ground. You're trying to either hit someone, or you might have missed, or whatever. But if it's not near that pallet, you kind of have to, if you still have your axe, if you want to break the pallet faster with your build, you have to throw the axe down, which is the cooldown of having the axe, throwing it down, the cooldown of, going back to your normal state to break something. And then you have to still break it, which again is obviously a lot faster. But it's all that unnecessary stuff that makes you want to use this build, which could be a lot of fun in theory, but here's how fast it is. Here, I'll show a clip. So there you go. As I said, it's a lot of setup to actually use this add-on with all these perks. And again, maybe that's just me being bad. I've got no idea. But that's where I get into a problem of a lot of his add-ons are they're very build heavy. You have to use them with specific builds, which is fine. There's a few of them that you don't have to. And again, that's fine. But let's go through them really quick here. This one here. Increases duration of Killer Instinct. Killer Instinct, when a survivor runs through the bubble, which, by the way, already, when a survivor runs through the bubble, you just get wall hacks for a few seconds, which I would say is fine if you had the axe. But the whole point is you don't have the axe anymore, because it's on the ground, and maybe it's on cooldown, or maybe you're just leaving it there for Foxy's Hook add-on, whatever. So it doesn't do anything, sure, it's nice to have Killer Instinct. Oh, you know where someone is, but you're already in chase with them. You get what I mean? The only really big thing I could see this benefit for is if you throw your axe at the end game, which is a really good, nice end game thing you can do. If doors are right by end game doors and your doors suck and they're super far away, throw an axe at one door and then go ahead to check the other door. That way, if someone goes on that door, you'll have Killer Instinct, and you'll see them. That's really the only viable way I see the Killer Instinct actually being used. But for the most part, it's not very good. Again, Restaurant Menu, Brown add-on, already the best add-on that he has. The Help Wanted ad just shows you kind of like one of those aim add-ons for like Huntress or Nurse's Blink or Blade Stash. It just shows you where you're going to go with the axe. This one, it just takes longer to remove the axe by 15%. There, it works very well with the add-on, the Celebrate poster, where once the axe is in someone, it takes, for everybody, and killer and survivor within 32 meters, they get speed and they vault faster. Okay, sure. Streamers got nerfed to be 15% instead of 20 to 25% moving through doors. You already did it kind of slow, but okay, this one's fine. It's still a fine add-on. This one, you gain the undetectable 25% longer when you go through a door. So again, it's just kind of build heavy focus. You want to be that undetectable build, which already doesn't work well with Springtrap. He sounds like a dump truck. You could hear him from the other side of Shack, which makes him really easy to loop at Shack, for instance. You could be at the wall with no window, and he's coming around, and you hear him. You can mind game if he tries to mind game you. He just sounds so loud, which I like personally. Again, I love FNAF. That's what I wanted him to sound like, just a giant metal machine. But in gameplay-wise, it doesn't work very well because it's very loud. The glitch trap skin is way quieter. We all know that. And it's a lot, pay to win. And again, I do love the fact, don't get me wrong, that Springtrap sounds like that. It just kind of sucks for gameplay purposes. Anyways, there you go, stealth build. If you want this one, this is just Sloppy Butcher base kit when you hit someone with the axe. Nice add-on, especially if it's green. This one, what this does is it makes the bubble bigger over 3 seconds, and so you can apply stuff like the Chica's Bib, which makes people exhausted. You have the wall hacks, which again doesn't make sense because you wouldn't have the axe, but it's also the bubble doesn't last as long. Any survivor within 24 meters when the axe is on someone, they're oblivious as well as broken if they're injured, which is usually what happens when someone has the axe in them. But it also, this is a little add-on that it decreases the time required to remove the axe from another survivor by 50%. Okay, sure, add that little bit in. It's again, it's such a small thing that you never see happen because it just doesn't come into often. Again, if the axe was base kit making people not be able to leave when it's embedded in them, that would make sense. Sure, but okay, whatever. The purple guy drawing just is an aura add-on, which isn't too bad. Again, run this with an aura build, or if you want something for a build with aura, there you go. This one, Freddy's hat, it just makes the axe come down a lot faster, so it's a lot, if you're going for those aerials, and, of course, survivors would have a lot more leeway at moving, you don't have to predict as much, you use this one. Foxy's Hook, in my opinion, his second best add-on, just a clown bottle effect, where you move faster for 6 seconds, but so do the survivors. Again, if there was a caveat of, again, this should make you move faster, maybe survivors faster, sure, but by less, maybe 3%, 4%, I don't know. It just seems like that way in looping, you can use this to get around the map, sure, without using the doors, which again, we'll get into the doors. I don't like the doors on the killer, but whatever. Again, Chica's Bib we mentioned, this is just actually useful with that bubble because the bubble doesn't do anything. You throw it down though. If you miss, someone runs through it, boom, now they can't use their dead hard. They can't use their quick and quiet head-on build. They can't use overcome if you hit them with an M1. They can't use life and chase or balance, anything, whatever. Bonnie's Guitar Strings got gutted. It's still a solid add-on in my opinion. You can still use it. And again, this is just a way where if you want to focus on gens, if you want to sweat and look at which gen is being damaged, where people are, being done and where you want to be. This one's not bad, but then it just removes stealth. Again, we talked about loot bag. I just think half of it should be base kit. Endo CPU, again, it's situational in my opinion, and when you actually try to use it with a build, it doesn't work very well. Celebrate poster, again, everybody gets buffed, so it's like more that cat and mouse game that you're already playing is even better, more so now. But again, the survivors get speed boosted and vault speed boosted, so do you. But their vault is already so much better than yours. Sure, the speed is just nice to have. Then again, they're 12% faster, so if you don't have a haste perk, it doesn't work out very well. I don't know. And then access panel. Doors are already, in my opinion, one of the worst things he has for one of his main parts of his power. They just kind of suck. Then we get to his iridescent add-ons. Iridescent Remnant makes all upright pallets, no vaults, they did change this from the PTV, blocked for 12 seconds when you come through a door, which is nice. It's like base kit blood favor, which can be really good, especially if you caught someone off by surprise. But let's face it, doors suck. They're going to see the static and they're going to run. And finally, the Faz coin. Again, this is a nice, fun build. You just throw your terror radius somewhere else on the map and you have an unexpectable ability with your terror radius being somewhere else to scare people. Cool, so again, there's his add-ons. Again, obviously, you all know them if you have played Springtrap. And again, I don't think a lot of them are very good. Most of them are all build heavy focused, and some, like the Foxy's Hook or the purple guy drawing or the axe or even the Bonnie's guitar string. Again, maybe not the purple guy drawing as much, but the other three, again, the restaurant menu, they're all very solid, can be used a whole bunch. But again, I think Springtrap already is very build focused. I think as well the bubble should do something extra when you run into it. Maybe not just Killer Instinct, maybe hindered or something, or that should be an add-on as well. They get hindered when they threw the bubble. I don't know, something like that. But now I'm going to talk about the doors and with the access panel, whatever. Because what the doors do is allow both Springtrap and the survivors to run around the map and fast travel around the map very fast. It's the first time ever, not in an event game mode, where survivors can also fast travel around the map from one side to the other. And this could be very beneficial in a scenario when the end game happens, when Springtrap's not using the doors, and maybe on the other side of the map you just open a door but he's camping and you want to get there really fast because of the timer or whatnot, but your teammates are already there, whatever, you just go through a door, saves you time that way, sure. But for how Springtrap uses the doors, again, it giving him a detectability, fast travel, and all this stuff, it's supposed to be used that if you come across a survivor in between a door, and also only that door. So if you're in door number 1 and the survivor's in number 5 going to number 4, but you go to number 5 or you go to number 4 or they come to number 1, whatever, you automatically grab them. And it's an insta grab and whatever and all this stuff. And here's where this sounds maybe wrong, but by the devs, it's deemed overpowered. And what do I mean by that? Well, let's look at really quickly Bubba or Billy or Oni or Michael or all these killers that can one-shot, one-down survivor. You have to do it in loops and chase, and what Springtrap does is he just happens to come across you in a door. Sure. So, what did survivors come up with? Nobody uses doors. And when I'm playing Survivor and I'm going against the Springtrap, I don't use the doors at all. There is zero upside to me as a survivor using the door, considering for the last 9 years, there was no way for survivors to fast travel at all. So from one map to the other, you were just used to not using the doors. Why use it when the only risk is there of being caught by Springtrap, being grabbed instantly, no chance to defend yourself. You can obviously do stuff like force a DS, for example, like kind of like a locker, sure. But besides those very few scenarios, if you're using the doors to fast travel, why would you use them? Instead, people are using them for the cameras, and people didn't use them as much at first, but now they are. And you have 7 cameras with a limited battery life, and what you do is you use the camera as a survivor, look at Springtrap for a couple seconds, and then he's highlighted in white around the map, which depending on the map could be better, because again, white wouldn't look good on Ormond, but it would look good on an inside map like RPD or something. But whatever, he's then highlighted for a couple seconds. I think it's just under 10 seconds or 10 seconds or whatever, and then you can keep revealing him over and over again. It comes with a really annoying noise for both the survivor on the cams and Springtrap. Whatever, who cares? One of his big abilities of his power is being able to jump scare people, grabbing them in that office. There's a whole achievement around it, and I get it's supposed to be a rare thing. I've done it 13 or 14 times out of 15. I'm almost done. Most of those, like the first 7 or 8, happened in that first week you launched because, of course, people are excited to use the cameras and fast travel and whatnot until, gameplay stepped in. That was such a bad idea for survivors. There's no upside to them fast traveling at all, and that just removes a giant part of Springtrap's kit. Because, again, his whole point is being the jump scares and grabbing you, whatever. It would be cool and fun and interesting, whatever. But nobody does it, and so it very, very rarely happens again unless you're forcing a DS or whatever. And so it's really just used as fast travel for you, which is, again, but that's part of your power. Like so many other killers fast travel, like Demogorgon has to go to a portal to fast travel, or instantly unknown and Onryo can teleport to a TV or an old unknown hallucination, whatever. So, there are killers who do teleporting better than Springtrap does. He has to go to a door, again, Demogorgon has to go to a portal to fast travel, and then he has to go through a giant animation to get to the other side, and then, of course, he's undetectable. That's a bonus, sure. But then with the survivors, they can use the doors, don't have to use fast travel. The whole point is whatever, and they just reveal you even while you're undetectable, so they can reveal you. And again, for 10 seconds or ever seconds, you might not have a heartbeat, but every survivor sees where you are. Whatever, it comes to this game where one big part of his power, what I'm getting at, is just unusable because it's such a bad thing to do as survivors, so nobody does it. And that just makes it unfun for the killer, if that makes sense, because it should be happening maybe more. There should be some sort of upside to the survivors. Maybe if you go through, you get a chance to get a flashlight or something, because you're in a security office, and flashlights and lights and as a whole have been a big part of FNAF forever and ever. Since FNAF 1 with the lights and the doors, and then FNAF 2 actually having a flashlight. FNAF 4, flashlight, whatever. What I'm getting at is one of his biggest parts of his powers kind of sucks because it only benefits survivors for the most part. Again, you could use it to fast travel, sure, but survivors aren't using it as well. They could be using it so much more, getting so much benefit out of it if it wasn't so risky. And I want that risk factor to be there. It should be used so that you can get that instant grab. Because again, Springtrap's not S tier with Nurse or Blight or Google or whoever. So it would be nice if you get an instant grab. It could just turn the entire game over on its head, snowball to your side if that happens. But it doesn't happen enough. But how do you make that happen? You give an upside to the survivors, but how do you give an upside to the survivors when they already have the cameras? But maybe make the cameras inside the office, but then they would never use the cameras. You see what I'm saying? So there's got to be some sort of upside, I think, to survivors. Maybe they get a haste speed boost from leaving. That would be cool. I don't think it's super overpowered because you use it from fast travel from one side to the other. Maybe you're in chase, but again, if you're in chase and you go in there, he grabs you instantly or whatever. And again, it's not like you can go into a door, click on one of the 7, Springtrap instantly grabs you. No, he either grabs you from one of 3 doors because you go to him, he goes to you, or you both go to the exact same door. So there's a 1 in 3 chance out of 7, or I guess a 3 in 7 chance, whatever, that he gets you. Less than 50% there. So that you're going to get caught anyways. So if there was a benefit and survivors use the doors more, I think that would be cool to give his power more. And now we get to the final part, which I want to discuss really quick here. And that's the perks that I think are actually kind of good on Springtrap. They're very solid. I have 4 of them here, plus the hex is laid out. We'll get into that, of course. But first off, Phantom Fear. Springtrap has a tear radius of 24 meters. So smaller than the average, which is nice. Plus, usually if you're going to teleport, especially right at the start, you're undetectable for 20 seconds. You get into chase with someone, maybe you hit them with an M1 or your axe and you get back, whatever. By the time the undetectable's done, maybe they end up winning chase too, who knows. But by that point, that smaller tear radius means you're closer to them. They're still in your tear radius. They scream eventually. You see them. I think Phantom Fear is a really solid perk on Springtrap for the fact of smaller tear radius. He's undetectable constantly, so when it finally activates, you're so much closer to the survivor. Or again, because you have to be within your tear radius, it's not 32 meters, so they're not even farther away at 24, so they could be 24 meters away, 10 meters, whatever. It's that closer range, so you just happen to be closer to the survivor, which is nice. Lethal Pursuer stacks with that, but also again, being able to teleport whenever at the start of the match, you just pop Lethal Pursuer, teleport to wherever people are at the start of the match, you find people right away. Very solid perk. Rapid Brutality and batteries included kind of go hand in hand. With Springtrap being 4.4 meters per second instead of 4.6 like base when he has the axe. That's why if you hit an M1 and you pick up the axe, then you're the same speed. Or if you don't have the axe, then you're faster, 120% speed instead of 115, for example, or 115 instead of 110. Same thing, you're by a gen, you're 5% faster, so 120 or 115, whatever. You can stack these together. But I think having an interchangeable speed perk, especially these two, because they're kind of the most common. An M1 hit, you're faster, or by a completed gen, you're faster. With 16 meters, it's a long range as well. So I think with these two in particular, because they always tend to activate a lot more than all the other haste perks that they have. Thanks, buddy. I think that just makes it a lot easier and a lot better, because again, that interchangeable speed with the axe, especially when you hold the axe, is just kind of gone for the most part. It's a lot more loose, but it's gone. For the most part, you'll end up sticking to 115 once gens get done, or once you get into a chase with an M1 hit, which I find very nice. That's why I use Foxy's Hook as well. If the survivor doesn't use it, but you use it, then you don't have the axe, and you're now 7% faster, stacks with these two. The other thing, it spirals into your favor. Speed perks are very good. Another thing are hex perks, especially Devour Hope. With this build I have called 50-50, which is Haunted Grounds and Devour Hope focus, but also No-Ed focus. But the reason why I have Devour Hope and Haunted Grounds labeled out is that the whole point is Devour Hope is protected by Haunted Grounds and Hex Undying. But when you get to that point where maybe you're Undying, your Devour Hope finally pops, and it's given away, so the survivors start looking for it, you can guard it with the axe. Using the axe to just kind of protect your hook, your totem, and so that any time someone goes near it, or anytime you're near it, you just throw the axe by it, because by that point you're focused on your M1 hits, because they're exposed because of Haunted Grounds, or they're exposed because of Devour Hope, or even No-Ed in the end game for the end game build, or again, with this build, my 50-50 as I call it, I do have No-Ed. So you can kind of just protect your totems. That's why I like Hex totems on this killer. You can protect them a lot easier than some others. It's not as good as like a Hag Trap or a Trapper Trap, but at the end of the day, it can be very useful. Another one in particular, Hex Blood Favor. I mean, being able to hit someone, and then of course you have the axe, you have the M1 in kind of the area where they're of course now injured, so they can't use pallets. Of course, yeah, they can use windows, whatever, but now you have that long range hit, now you have the M1 hit, you have any way you want to take them out in an nice loop there that they can't use for at least 15 seconds. It's very solid there. Thanks, bud. Barbecue and chili as well is a very solid perk because again, you hook someone, you use the doors to find them right after. Very nice. I do like pain res over pop, however, because like I said, the teleport is still somewhat slower compared to say Freddy or Demogorgon or Onryo or Dredge or whoever, or Blight or Billy or Nurse who can speed around the map to use maybe pop more efficiently. So using pain res as that main gem perk is nice, or even Surge if you use the axe to injure them and they get the M1 hit off. That's Surge for those. But those are just the big perks I really like. Hex perks, Phantom Fear, Barbecue and Chili, Lethal Pursuer. These two haste perks in particular, Rapid Brutality or Batteries included. The Hex perks, the main ones being Devour Hope, No-Ed, Haunted Ground, and Blood Favor. And then Pain Res and Surge as the gem perks. Those I really like. I don't really use Slowdown or for the most part Chase. I mean, again, I've used like Knockout, which the Breaking the Pallet build, or I have used a bunch of Aura perks in my Aura build here. I just kind of tweaked it and moved it to show off these perks here. But for the most part, those are the perks I like. Again, the add-ons, Restaurant Menu, Foxy's Hook, Chica's Bib, those three, the Streamers, whatever, or the Ripped Curtain, whatever. Again, those four, Ripped Curtain, Foxy's Hook, Restaurant Menu, and Chica's Bib are very solid in all what they do. And yeah, that just leaves, again, finally the whole point of the video. Springtrap could be slightly better. Make his axe when it lands, make maybe survivors have an additional effect, like it's hindered when they run through it or something. Just make it, you know, do something besides, you know, Killer Instinct. With some of his add-ons, again, Foxy's Hook or Celebrate Poster, give the survivors the bonus, but give him like half the bonus or just not as much of the bonus that Springtrap should get. Again, it's his add-on for him. It shouldn't make survivors better. Make his axe when you hit someone and they try to leave. Make it so that the person who the axe is in, that they can't escape until the axe is removed. So again, that gives the help. That gives the survivor helping you a chance to remove the axe and actually make that mechanic do something as well. It might also make you secure one more kill. And then have the doors actually have the survivors a reason to use the doors, not just the cameras, so that you can use them more for getting downs and grabs. Those are my biggest gripes there with Springtrap. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. Maybe leave a like, maybe leave a nice comment down below, maybe hit that subscribe button, put that little bell, and I'll see y'all next time for some more Dead by Daylight. Bye, everybody.